Hello everyone, I wanted to do a quick verbal disclaimer here to let y'all know that this video is going to be covering some more heavy or disturbing topics compared to my usual videos. This is because I'm going to be discussing my own art and OCs, which generally embody darker themes and concepts. If you're a kid or sensitive to any of the warnings I have up on screen, then I advise you to click off and not engage with this video. Anyway, let's get on with it. What's up, witches? My name is Syzygy and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hi, hello, nice to have you. Today I will be making my second installment in my new series, POV, I Hold You Hostage and Force You to Listen to Me Talk About My OCs. In the last part, I mentioned how I initially planned on discussing Ophelia first in the series, but decided I wanted to talk about Vince more. Today, though, we'll be circling back and talking about my girl, as you probably could have, deduced from the speed paint in the background. If you just know me from my YouTube videos and nothing else, which I assume would be most people watching this video, then you may not know that I'm a pastel horror and yummy kawaii artist. Most of my inspirations in artwork contain incredibly dark themes. Though I'm sanitized and more personable for the sake of my platform, my interests and creations lie in the f***ed up sort of camp. I've been pretty obsessed with horror since I was a very small kid, and I especially love the juxtaposition and contrast between the cute and cuddly side of things and then the horrifying, gory, and terrible side of things. So, as I mentioned in my last video about Vincent, I've been working on creating a universe full of characters that are either bad, terrible, horrible people, or are else victims of bad, terrible, horrible people. It's currently just called Unnamed World because I don't have a proper name for it quite yet. But it essentially exists for me to both be able to explore the darker side of my interests and my love for violence and gore, as well as a way for me to slip into some black, surreal, and absurdist comedy. The story of the universe is not linear, and it mostly just centers around different characters doing different things, one of which being Ophelia, the subject of today's video. So Ophelia has a slightly interesting backstory of creation. Though she was the first ever character that I actually created that's within Unnamed World, first conceived in July of last year, she wasn't created specifically for the universe. Instead, Vincent was technically the first character I created specifically to be a part of Unnamed World, and I believe that he was, first created on, November 1st or 2nd. Instead, Ophelia was actually initially created to be a secondary persona for myself. I made her so that I could draw horrible, gory vent art and not concern friends or others by making my main persona the subject of said art. She was sort of an artistic representation of myself, and didn't have much character or backstory or anything like that. At first, I just kinda drew her while I was upset, as a coping mechanism mostly. I remember that shortly after I created her, an ex-friend wanted to ship her with their character that they created and was super pushy and insistent about it, which kind of led me to flatlining Ophelia's personality a lot and not engaging with her as a character with a backstory or a purpose for a long time. In fact, there is actually a period of time in which I vocally did not like her due to what she represented, that being the ex-friend's pushiness. However, with the creation of Vince a few months later and the expulsion of this friend from my life, I decided to start work on her as an actual character. Especially because her and Vince's aesthetics matched up so well, I felt that they would be perfect in a universe together. Rather than make her over the top or funny like I did with him, though, I decided to actually just build off of what I already had of her. I decided that I would keep her personality flat and emotionless, and I think that it works pretty well for her vibes. Because of this, she ended up with comorbid ASPD and ASD, with a side of schizophrenia. Furthermore, though I would no longer consider her a persona anymore, she is still a very important and dear character to me personally, and I still often use her to make vent art, not safe for work art, and gore art. Now, one thing that I had for her in the very beginning was repeated goring, maiming, disembowelment, and other such things. I drew her being pretty much maimed in irreparable ways, and rather than have that concept sort of go to waste or remain figurative, I decided that I actually wanted to create a way for her to be gored and mutilated without actually dying. I didn't talk about this much in my video about Vince, but Unnamed World is parallel to reality. The time frame of this story is mid to late 2022, and all of the main characters live in California. The world building is pretty loose and undeveloped, but as it is now, there are some regular humans and also various different monsters and species that live alongside them. Some species are well documented and known, like arachnids like Vince, or the various races of dolls like Felix, Charlie, and Arthur, but other species are not well known or are otherwise disguised. Ophelia walks around as if she's completely human, and if asked, she would quietly confirm that this was the case. However, she's not human at all, and is in fact a shifter. Shifters are a more rare and secretive species and are not known to many humans at all. They can change their bodies and their forms because they're shapeshifters. They also can sustain intense injury that would be fatal to a human and just be completely fine. Oftentimes, their wounds heal incredibly quickly. Furthermore, like other predatory species, they avoid revealing their true natures to human society because their diet is primarily humans. They all have a true form which ranges wildly in appearance from one shifter to another, and they can switch freely between different human bodies and faces. Heads up, the next image that I'm going to show is going to contain some gore and body horror, so if you'd like to skip past it, then the timestamp on screen is what you should skip to. Alright, I'll be showing the image in 3, 2, 1, and here it is. This is Ophelia's true form, like what she actually looks like. I designed it a short while ago and I just adore how adorable and cool it is. The vibes are immaculate for real. Anyways, the way that I normally draw her, pink-haired, short, and cute, is just her chosen human disguise. She chose it specifically because it's small, cute, and non-threatening. She parades around as if she's some 19-year-old girl named Ophelia, but is really a much older predator waiting for her next human meal. She also did choose her own name, hence why she doesn't have a surname. More on her personality and vibes, though, she exhibits a flat affect and a logia, also called poverty of speech. She doesn't emote facially, avoids eye contact, and refuses to speak if she doesn't have to. She prefers to communicate through gestures. Furthermore, while she could be described as a malicious character technically, she's not at all sadistic like some other characters I have, notably Vincent Valentine and Arthur Noir. She takes no pleasure in the suffering of her victims or her achievements and triumphs over others. She simply does what she does because she needs to eat to survive. In fact, she doesn't even target people that she doesn't have to, and because she only needs to eat once a month or so, she doesn't really hunt unnecessarily. Other than that, she doesn't really have very many friends, relationships, or connections, and not much is known about her from the outside looking in. She's pretty much a recluse most of the time, and when she is seen in public at all, it's almost never during the day. The only places that she hangs out consistently in are the underground club scene and a few different BDSM groups. From her time in the underground club scene, she knows Frederica Stone and Charlotte Noir, and both of them consider her a pretty good friend, despite her often being silent and distant. Their extroverted selves just sort of adopted her as a friend. Charlotte specifically has a thing for her and often flirts with her, but her advances are not clearly reciprocated. Ophelia just sort of reptilian blinks. Neither of them know about Ophelia's true nature or about each other's occupations and hobbies at all, and they just sort of all party together as a fun little group of 3. In the BDSM scene, Ophelia is a part of a few clubs and is well known in the community, but doesn't interact with anyone else in the community outside of just attending the occasional event or party. She's a bit of an enigma there as well. She's masochistic and often asks to be harmed extensively, and no one really knows why, but she does this essentially in an effort to, feel something, if I could describe it. She hurts herself and asks to be hurt by others so that she can feel more alive, as she doesn't really feel much of anything at all normally. Others just sort of give in to her wishes and do as she asks, but they do notice that many wounds disappear in record time and that her nosebleed seems to be eternal, and no one can really explain it. The only other character of mine she's actually familiar with is Vince, who she's met at a few of the BDSM parties on separate occasions, and though he feels neutral towards her and has tried to strike up conversations with her, she thinks he's obnoxious and avoids him like the plague. Ironically, if she gave him a chance, they might actually perhaps be able to eat a few meals together. Anyways, that is the Ophelia rundown for everyone. If you want to read more information about her and see some more art of her, then I would recommend checking out her Toy House profile. I've linked it in the description, so you can see more of her if you'd like. She's a pretty personal character to me and is the oldest of the OCs that I currently still use, so I hope learning some about her creation, personality, shifter traits, and role was interesting. Let me know if you guys are enjoying this OC sharing series and if you'd like to see more in the comments, since I have a lot of fun making it and I actually enjoy making these kinds of videos. With all of that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please rate and subscribe if you feel so inclined. You can follow the link to my card in the description if you are interested in following me on other platforms and seeing some of my artwork, both safe for work and if you're over 18, not safe for work as well. Thank you all for watching, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and don't forget, stay magical.